I've had the pleasure with working with Eddie for coming up on 20 years now. Time does fly. And since starting the company, Eddie has really been a visionary, setting a lot of the best practices we see today around safety, security, and operations management. He's authored 2 books, the Alarm Management Handbook and the High Performance HMI Handbook, that have really become industry standards and best practices on how to design an information system for an operator. Recently, he was named by CNR as one of the top 30 executives to know in the industrial Internet of Things space, and it's been a pleasure to work with him and follow his leadership as he helps industry solve their problems. So with that, Eddie Habibi.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for indulging us. Thank you for coming. Lots of familiar faces I haven't seen in some time. This is an exciting time for us. This is the first time we have held a conference since 2014. We have given it a new theme, optics, to reflect our focus on the ICS and the critical infrastructure, the safety and security of process plants. Let me go ahead and get started by sharing with you a personal experience. Mona Lisa, by all means, by every art scholar, is known to be the finest masterpiece of art ever done. And I was lucky enough to get to see it in 2001. I went to the Louvre, I stepped up, I looked at it. What's the big deal? It's just another woman, not necessarily the most beautiful, but what is the big deal? Well, it took me a while to understand the big deal. Recently, Walter Isaacson, the author who has written about Steve Jobs as well as about Einstein and a couple of others, wrote a book about Da Vinci. And I picked up the book and started learning about Da Vinci. And very quickly realized that my first impression of the Mona Lisa was very uninformed, and started learning about the fact that Da Vinci was a very curious man. He was an inventor. He was a scholar of many different fields. He was an architect, an engineer. He learned about botany, he learned about human anatomy, and many, many other different disciplines. Now, you might ask, what does all of this have to do with what we do? Which is industrial, critical infrastructure, safety and security of these places. We'll get there, just bear with me for a minute. So, Da Vinci, born in 1452, at the onset of the Renaissance, mastered many different fields. In fact, he didn't start working on Mona Lisa until he was 51 years old. And then he spent over 10, almost 13 years, or different variations of how much time he spent on the Mona Lisa, working on the work. Everything from a flying machine to how water moves and the different aspects of measuring water flow and water movement. He apparently came up with 57 different names for the movement of water. He studied the human anatomy. He studied the proportions of the human face. In fact, if you have a device, an iPhone or any device like that that has facial recognition, you can thank Da Vinci for it, back over 500 years ago. He studied the human anatomy, how the muscles work, how the nerves work. He would go to the morgue and peel the flesh off the cadavers to learn about human anatomy. He was a consummate learner. He was an absolute student of science and technology. He learned about optics. He learned about the fusion of light and shade. He learned about the human cornea. All that to bring together the most perfect painting ever done. So I have a truly different appreciation for this great work of art. It's estimated that about 6+ million people see the Mona Lisa on an annual basis. It's valued at close to $1 billion. At last estimate, it was $800 million. Da Vinci is called the Renaissance man because he mastered so many different fields. He invented so many different things, and he managed to pull it all together and converge it into a masterpiece. Something that I would say is a virtual reality of a perfect virtual reality of a woman on canvas, on a two-dimensional canvas. So this grand convergence is something that we have seen come together over and over again, and we're about to see it again. We saw it with Steve Jobs. If there is a true Renaissance man of our time, or was, it was Steve Jobs. Pulled so many different technologies. He's the first one in modern times to pull art into technology. He appreciated the human shortcomings when it comes to understanding information technology and dealing with information. He made capturing new knowledge portable, communication portable, and creating new knowledge more possible. Another area is one of these new convergence of various technologies, from electrical motors to batteries that are made by some of our customers in chemical plants, the components that go into them. This car is amazing. I have one of them. It is referred to as a platform. The first time I saw the Tesla, I went to look at the Tesla store. First of all, the store where you go buy the car is at the Galleria Mall, Houston's most premier shopping center. And the staff there look like Apple Store staff. And the place has that feel. And when they talk about the car, they talk about the platform. It is truly a digital device. It is the convergence of a lot of different technologies, from metallurgy to communication, but it is a digital device. I roll around in town and Tesla knows where I am, how I'm doing. Not necessarily good, but they understand the condition of the car. Yeah. But there are consequences that are unintended that we get when we see convergence of new technologies. And we become a little bit concerned about where this technology may be going. But the fact is, with every new technology, with every new advancement in the human cause, the human prosperity, we will see unintended consequences. And this is an example of one. This is from 2 weeks ago. Whether it was human error or the error of the machine, and there is a debate right now around this particular accident as to what happened. It was running in autonomous mode. I have driven in that autonomous mode and nearly got myself and the passenger with me killed. The passenger happens to be in this room. This is no different from us working at a plant. Working at a process plant, we put in some phenomenal technologies, but we have unintended consequences. An unintended consequence of advanced process controls, which is a phenomenal technology, delivers yields of up to 3-4% in production improvement. At a plant that generates $5 billion of revenue a year, is a significant amount of benefit. Antonio Pietri, who will be up here from Aspen Tech, will talk about that and plus other topics. And Aspen Tech is a provider of one of those solutions. What is the downside of that technology? What was the unintended consequence of advanced process controls and optimization? Our operators stopped working, interacting with a control system, with a process plant. That's pretty much similar to the autonomous vehicles. The process plant becomes totally automated, the automobile becomes automated. What happens? Skills start deteriorating. We need to think ahead and account for those things. We will talk over and over. The human element is probably one of the weakest elements when it comes to where we're going with technology and convergence. Now, I came across the notion of Industry 4.0 about 4 years ago at a industry trade affair in Europe, in Germany. And the concept we refer to here in North America as smart manufacturing, whatever name you want to give it, it is truly the next generation of opportunities to improve productivity, safety, and reliability. And what makes Industry 4.0 possible are 4 distinct elements. One is sensors. Sensors have become cheap and they have become very reliable and very capable. We can sense everything in the plant. We can put sensors on everything from pumps, compressors to valves, and everything else, and gain a digital representation of those devices as well as processes. In fact, talking to Walter Pinto a couple of months ago of LyondellBasell, who will be here on the panel later on this morning, he was telling me one of the initiatives that LyondellBasell has taken in digitizing the construction project. There is tremendous amount of savings to be made on a $1.2 billion project by digitizing the construction equipment. It's very costly to rent that equipment, so let's digitize it and understand it. Let's digitize our people, tag them with RFID, and make sure they're present at the same time at the construction site when it's time to get the job done. Digitalization. Tremendous opportunities in every aspect. Another aspect, the second part of Industry 4.0 is communication. Ubiquitous connectivity everywhere. Wi-Fi, cell, as well as internet connections. We gather the information, we roll it up to very powerful computers. It is amazing how Moore's law continues to be true. Computers are getting cheaper and cheaper and more powerful than they have ever been. And the fourth element, the last element, is the intelligence. Programming is not what it used to be when I programmed as a kid. It's come a long way. Machine learning, deep learning has created this environment, this opportunity to control things we could never control, analyze data, torture the data until we get the information that we need out of it. And it is amazing what can be done with the proper level of effort. The combination of all of that is giving us an opportunity to create a virtual plant environment, regardless of what the plant or the facility might be, whether it's power, chemical refining, pipelines. We have an opportunity to digitize every piece of equipment, every employee, every device, and bring it to an environment where we can see it and manage it remotely. The pipeline industry has been doing that for many years. The pipeline industry has been managing the controls, compressor stations remotely for a long time, and it works very, very well and because of digitization. Now, if a device is out in the plant and it's not digitized, it doesn't exist. You don't have visibility to it. You can't see it. It doesn't exist. You don't know when it goes wrong, when something happens to it. So this is our virtual reality. This is the convergence of technologies that are coming together to build that perfect digital twin of a plant, not too dissimilar from the virtual reality that Da Vinci put together for a human being. So.